happened on the set of The Bodyguard, and what was it like for her to act and stuff. They touched on that a little bit, and she was a little afraid of it, and she was scared of it, but they didn't really delve into that either. They didn't delve into that or her other previous relationships. They didn't delve into the fact that she had a lesbian friend for a very, very long time. She was very close to and lived with her. I don't think she was a lesbian, but I think that that's why the rumors got started that she may be, because her best friend from her childhood was a lesbian, and she was always there for her. They didn't really talk about that relationship. They didn't talk about her getting bullied in Catholic school and why she felt the need to turn to drugs to kind of try to battle her demons, which were the demons. But what was she running from emotionally that made her turn to substance abuse to cope? And so that they didn't really delve into these things that I find to be interesting, intriguing things about a person's life, their motivations for the things that they do. And to me is the most important thing. And so it was really kind of topical in a way, because as I said, it was primarily about Bobby and her. But if it had delved into these things deeper, or if they do another movie, someone does, I think that they should do that. And to the emotional side, because that's what's important, I think, is the emotional journey one takes through life, especially someone who ends up killing themselves as a result of drug abuse. You want to know why. And we know to some extent her relationship with Bobby Brown was difficult, to say the least, and tumultuous. But they didn't touch on that part either. So it was all the middle part of her life after she was successful and before she really spiraled down out of control completely. So and it didn't deal with her death either. So that's what I would like to see from another movie. Also, the movie, the movie was not allowed to use any of Whitney Houston's actual imagery or her voice. And so the woman who played her, I wish I could remember her name. I can't. The woman who played her, actually, they just redid all of her look in the likeness of Whitney Houston for Photoshop, for photos and that sort of thing. And for her voice, Deborah Cox dubbed the entire thing, which Deborah Cox is a great artist anyway, but she really, really captured her voice very well. I mean, you can tell it's not her singing, but she did a really great job. And Deborah Cox is an incredible singer in her own right, but she did a wonderful job. And so it really brought to life Whitney Houston as much as you can without actually getting to use her actual music and without actually getting to use her actual imagery. So anyway, that's what I think about that tonight. I wanted to talk about Whitney Houston, the movie. And one more thing was there is an article about a woman who found her long lost father and ended up she and he are getting married. And she's 18, he's 37 or 38 or something like that. And they're getting married, they're going to have children. And she says she doesn't care what people think about it, and that they won't have malformed children, because that's only when you do inbreeding over various generations, like the royal family. So that is the most weird and bizarre thing I've ever heard. Now, I'm so non-judgmental, though, about most things. And for me, having a marriage with your own father, if you're a woman and you're having a sexual relationship with your father, I mean, willingly, knowingly, and actively, I don't mean someone who's been molested, I think is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Now, a psychiatrist or psychologist did say that it is a normal or typical, I should say, phenomena for people who have been separated from their natural parents, that when they're reunited, they have sexual attraction to them. Some of them do. It's a natural phenomena. So I guess this is normal for these kids like that, but I think it's really weird and bizarre. But yeah, so they're getting married and they don't care who cares. They're doing what they want to do. Now, I guess if it makes you happy, then good for you. Just stay away from me. That's how I think about it. But anyway, the one takeaway I wanted to say about the Whitney movie was, that's why, because everybody thinks Bobby Brown was the reason and everything else. And I always said that I didn't think he was, is you don't know anybody until you know somebody. You don't know anybody. You don't know what goes on in a relationship unless you're in it. You don't know what's going on in two people's lives unless you live with them or you know them or you're part of it. And so my point is, you shouldn't judge people's relationships or judge people that you don't know just because you may think something doesn't mean it's true. And if this movie is true, if this is indeed what happened, then it proves that he did not by any means get her into drugs. She was into drugs before he met her, and that she spiraled out of control all on her own. And even if he was part of it, exacerbated it at some point in the relationship, he was not to blame. And I agree with that. As I've said in the beginning, I think everyone should take responsibility for themselves, especially drug users. Drug users often like to blame others instead of taking responsibility for their own actions, saying, oh, well, I wouldn't be using drugs or alcohol if you weren't such an asshole, or you were this way or that way, or if I had a father or mother or whatever. Everybody's got fucking bullshit to deal with. So it's just that using alcohol to deal with it is always, or alcohol or drugs is the wrong way to deal with any kind of negative emotions you may have. And so, it's always the person who's doing it's fault. Everyone has free will. So if you choose to use drugs, then it's your own choice and your own decision. It's no one else's. So that's what I wanted to say. I'll be back tomorrow night for show number 17. I hope you all have a great night. Thanks for listening. Good night.